Hello, everybody. My name's Gavin. As you say, I'm from the UK and I live with type 1 diabetes myself since childhood. I founded an organisation, a charity now over here called Diathletes. And yeah, I'm going to share a bit about our global programme called LOD, the League of Diathletes. I'm pretty glad that I've got some slides because otherwise you'd be looking at my washing in the background that I'm getting used to working from home and all that. So you can see the slide and a bit more about LOD on there. So yeah, LOD, you can see the statement there really, which I personally feel is important, and we share this in common around the world. Education in diabetes is absolutely essential. I'm sure we're all aligned with this wherever we are. And it's really the approach to education that often lacks. In some places it doesn't, in other places it does. And there's differences not only country to country, but perhaps also hospital to hospital within many countries as well, as to how that approach to education takes place. You've heard a lot about here, and I think coming up next as well, more about language matters and how communication works around diabetes. You'll hear everything from the evolution that is going on right in front of us, in front of our very eyes, with all technology developing, and that takes education to be able to get the best results of working with this technology, as well as the information from what people might say more basics, but actually more essential. The different insulins that people use. There's such a variety now. You need to have a relatable approach to education. It needs to actually connect with us, the people who live every day with it 24/7, making those crucial health decisions. And so that's really where LOD has come from, because we're a kind of group, as you can see there, of friends, families. That's how I see it. When you first share and realize there's other people like you, it's a eureka moment in your life that you can meet other people with this in common. I think I left myself very isolated throughout my youthful years, and that didn't do me any good with my condition. But in meeting others, we found a family, and that's a real support network. So we have a group of advocates. They all live with type 1 diabetes around different countries of the world. You just saw Leona there; she's one of them in France. So yeah, we're really working together to actually grassroots share that initiative in common, how we can improve the methods of education and how we can make that approach to it, the language to actually understanding the basics and what we have to work in, day out, how we make that count and connect with people. And so we have a connection, a network of organizations. And the unique side of this is we're not the big boys, we're not the big national organizations, and we don't have the funds. So that's where we suffer a little bit, and we're limited in some areas, but I think we're stronger together. And the unique side is that all these organizations that you can see various logos at the bottom of the screen of the slide, we all have that in common. We've been founded by personal experiences and areas that we've seen from our own eyes that we want to improve in this cause. So that's the unique part of LOD. And if you turn to the next slide, what you'll see there is a bit more about what we're up to and what we've been up to since we kind of started connecting more together. There are 15 organizations. We had our first global training in 2018, and it was face-to-face. And by God, I miss face-to-face right now. So this year, we're actually trying to do it virtual with the ISPAD conference. We're going to be having a virtual advocacy training. And we're trying to implement what we're calling LOD projects, these projects that we share in common on kind of grassroots local levels, to reach people from personal experiences and share that peer engagement. I think that it might only have a small reach, but it goes a long way on that individual level to actually steering people onto the right path of their condition. And each of us here, from all our experiences, from the achievements we've had, but more so the hardships we faced, we have that power inside of us to actually go and use that for good, to actually help others. And so that's kind of what we're about at LOD. And yeah, and these trainings have been trying to implement those outcomes in a shared way. There are many differences. You heard Graham Ogle speak a little bit earlier as well about the challenges in the world, as well as Paul Louis. And so there are differences in accessibility, in healthcare, and there's many wrongs in that in the 21st century. But we're trying to work on how it's communicated, how education works. So our first project's training in 2018 was for workshops. We came up with more inventive ways, trying to make talking about diabetes more fun, more engaging, more empowered. We had games like Team Insulin versus Team Mealtime, and Team Immune System versus Team Beta Cells, just to learn about diagnosis in a fun way for young people. And we've been sharing that in our own ways, in our own cultures around the world, with sports clinics and events like that. And this time in 2020, when we have our next training in October, which I'm excited about, that's going to be focusing on making diabetes camps. So again, they're kind of grassroots, bringing people together. It might have to be virtual for now, but hopefully in the future, we'll do some practical camps again around our networks. And and then we're looking at really other areas of how we can create a grant scheme with this network. It's not easy, as I say, when you're founded from the bare bones, from the ground upwards, but we certainly network together. There's a big platform on the online world now where you can share about your works and your projects and try to attract more funding supports. And earlier this year, of course, with the COVID situation, it was harder because we couldn't do any kind of fundraising things, which is actually a relief for me. A few years ago, I ran 25 marathons in a month, and I don't fancy doing that again to try and raise some funds. But we had a series of online sessions going on, and we were trying to raise funds throughout. And we managed to raise a good bit of money for our partners in Africa who were in lower income situation. And in Uganda, they came up with a project called Project Boda Boda, where they were supplying insulin deliveries. People couldn't, they were trekking for up to 5 hours to try and get their insulin. And then of course, being locked in, unable to do that. So we were trying to fundraise to support Boda Boda taxi bikes to deliver the insulin to the houses of the young warriors in Uganda. And that was quite successful online. So now Diathlete's a charity as well. We'll try and get donations towards that with a grant scheme for the organisations, not just in lower income countries, but those trying to make the projects in the community levels around the world as well. So that's a big initiative that we're trying to drive towards. That fantastic image of us all trekking on the screen is in Costa Rica last year. 14 advocates went out to do a T1D Global Challenge, and we all survived, thankfully, and it was a great adventure. It kind of raised awareness. There was a few videos online you can see about the series of our T1D Global Challenge with LOD. And we've been putting on since 2017 T1D Global Conferences as well, which perhaps were the first of its kind a few years back. It just so happened we did a project. We had a lot of funds left over. We got sponsored for the first time ever. And we managed to get a representative from each continent to come to a conference in London and share about their personal experience on a global panel. That's been happening ever since. We've done it annually. Last year it was in Costa Rica. We had a great attendance with the diabetes organization we work with over there in Latin America in Costa Rica called Dia Vida, who are doing fantastic things. And so we want to continue that. On the 18th of October, go to diathlete.org. You can register. We haven't actually released it yet, but you can sign up, and it will be virtual after WristPad, where we'll do our next one virtually in 2020. So looking forward to all those things. And Wonderful. Really the final quote that I want to leave you with before I shut up is that final quote from Mahatma Gandhi at the bottom, particularly where we're talking about online engagement today. I think it has even more of a value. And that's the sign of a good leader is not in how many followers you have, but how many leaders you create. And we've all got that in us to create leaders around us to actually make a difference. Our experiences matter, and they can go such a long way to changing somebody's life. And every one life changed is a good job from your own experiences as well. So we've got that in common. It's not all about the followers. It's not all about the social media. It's about what you're doing with your life to actually go and impact people. So yeah,
thank you, Gavin.
For listening.